folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys presents Tales of the Trophies, Best of the Rest, Season 5. I'm Mike with EJ. How's it going, pal?
Um, it's hitting that time of year where you just blinked. The college football season is nearly over.
Nearly over.
So it's very bittersweet here because while it is heating up and definitely have a lot of excitement, some good games still to come.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, we're nearing the end of the road already. I think I even said it last week where it was just crazy to think we were just a few weeks away from just being excited, right? Like it
Mhm.
was college football was back. We were excited about the season. And now it's like I'm looking at, the SEC's annual, bye week,
Yeah, that's right.
and then it's like, wow, Georgia, they're done. There's no more SEC
Yeah,
games for them, right?
yeah.
Like
SEC schedule's finished for them.
which,
Yep.
which seems odd, but okay,
Yeah, it's
cool.
crazy. Yeah, 2 weeks left in the season. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, 2 weeks and
Yeah.
basically like, okay,
Well,
cool,
but
sweet.
we always do want to protect rivalries, right? So like it is at least one of those weeks is filled with the last game of the season is reserved for the Georgia Tech rivalry. So like that, I'm okay with that,
It's fine.
right? And then everyone in the SEC has a bye week next week essentially. So that's a whole different ball wax. Some people
Yeah.
had several bye weeks throughout the year, and
Yeah.
and uh, that is what it is. But we'll take that. You only play the teams on your schedule, so
Yeah, but a lot of the times these ADs have gotten to determine who's on said schedule. So
I have a lot of thoughts about. Depending upon what the rankings come out tomorrow, I have a lot of thoughts. In fact, I have a bone to pick with the AP and the
who cares
right
about the
now.
AP?
But anyways,
Let's before we get there, which is that was almost the perfect segue because
almost.
there's still one thing we have to talk about before, and it's truthfully because I tried to research it today and couldn't get a fucking clear answer. What the hell is who's going to be in the SEC championship game? If 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 just assume A&M beats Texas, which isn't a guarantee, so
Yeah.
there's that's the even has more
I think I
chaos.
well I
Who's in?
don't think that matters. I think it's A&M and M and Georgia. I think it's
Regardless,
for sure. I
I've
believe
seen
so.
if it's
Or
a
no, no,
four-way
no, no. Well,
tie.
hold on. So, because I believe that the it goes by your conference schedule or your conference record is the first one, and then I believe it's your overall record is the second one, and then I think it goes to head to head, which I think is a little silly. I think it should go conference record, then it should go head to head record, and then it should go your overall. Because if it goes, because right now, the way it stands right now, A&M is at the top of the SEC. And right now it's A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama in SEC rankings. That would be obviously A&M is undefeated at 7-0 and 10-0. Second place is 7-1 Georgia with a 9-1 overall. So I guess if Ole Miss wins out and goes to 7-1, so this is where it could get tricky, right? Because if Ole Miss wins out and Georgia were to lose a game, then I do believe Ole Miss.
So according to the Google,
Yeah.
it is head to head record versus common conference opponents.
Wait. So it's your win loss and then it's your head to head.
Yeah, so it's conference. So if in the res like in the
Oh, you know what? Well, okay. Here's what it is. Here's what it is. I think it might still be A&M and Alabama then, because so Georgia's 7-1. So that explains why they're ahead of Alabama and Ole Miss. Well, no, that doesn't make sense because then Ole Miss in the current rankings is above Alabama. Um, and they're
Okay.
both 6-1 in the conference. So between Ole Miss and Alabama, is it record against common opponents? Which Ole Miss beat Oklahoma, but Alabama beat Georgia.
So I pulled up an article and I pulled this up earlier, but I just scrolled right down to the confusing like A&M reaches if and Alabama reaches
Mm,
if, but they broke it down in just like the first paragraphs
okay,
that this okay, this makes a lot more well, I mean it doesn't make sense, but at least they've explained it.
it's clear. It adds clarity. Might not
Yes.
make sense, but it adds clarity. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously A&M is the only undefeated, unbeaten. So if they win, they're in, right?
Yeah.
That's the obvious thing. So it says Alabama appears to control its own destiny despite losing to Oklahoma. However, a multi-team tiebreaker scenario could keep the Crimson Tide home even if they win the Iron Bowl. So it says here, despite Alabama's head-to-head win over Georgia in September, the SEC's tiebreaker policy indicates it would be nullified in the event of a three-team tie that includes Ole Miss, Alabama, and Georgia. So, or that would include Ole Miss, right? So Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss all did not play each other this season. So no team went 0-2 or 2-0. So then the conference would then move to a strength of schedule metric to determine the title contenders between the Crimson
But it
Tide,
has to be
the
Alabama.
Bulldogs, and the Rebels. Going into the weeds here, but the result of the three SEC games left, Florida versus Tennessee, Vanderbilt versus Kentucky, Arkansas versus Missouri would determine who owns the strength of schedule for this final spot. So that's real shitty that you guys have to worry about other team, other shitty games
It's
to
gonna,
determine
yeah.
that.
See that? No, that's tricky. Yeah.
So yeah, so at least that explains what would need to happen, but like the confusing thing is like, okay, so
So basically,
obviously,
if Ole Miss drops another game,
yeah.
if Ole Miss drops another game, then it's just a head to head with Georgia, and we would have the win over Georgia, so Alabama would go, assuming A&M beats Texas.
I was gonna say, so that's the key. So if you're Ole Miss as the longest shot, so they would need to win the Egg Bowl, Texas would need to take the Spurs, and Auburn would have to win the Iron Bowl. So then it would have to be Ole Miss, Georgia in the SEC championship. That's the only way Ole Miss can get in, is if
Even if it's a three-way tie between Georgia, Ole Miss, and Alabama,
yes.
who
So
who wins that? Or it
if
depends based on how these games shake out.
yeah, I think it has to do with the strength of schedule, which is undetermined. So I guess it comes down to if I had to guess. So it said between Florida and Tennessee, Vanderbilt and Kentucky. So it's like okay, I'm trying to think of. So Georgia would probably be boost. Oh, I guess it depends on where they're ranked, right? So Florida's win. So if Kentucky lose or if Kentucky beats Vanderbilt, I think that probably docks Bama, right? Missouri, who beat Missouri?
Bama did.
Bama and yeah, see, this still isn't very clear. So it says Alabama reaches if they beat Auburn and Texas beats A&M. So then that would indicate to me that they would need a four-way tie. Jesus Christ. To get in. So then if Auburn beats Alabama or Texas beats or Ole Miss wins, Georgia wins the three-way tie between Alabama and Ole Miss based on SEC opponent winning percentage. There you go. Yep. So
Clear,
so Georgia
clear as
holds that
mud.
tiebreaker.
Clear as mud. Okay.
But I just have a sneaking suspicion that Texas is going to beat A&M. I don't know why. I
Because
just
it's an A&M.
it's
It's
just what they
A&M in
would do,
November.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Winning in.
yeah. I'm still waiting for something to happen where they go 8-4.
No, it's just they would be hilarious and they would get the first round bye and then they would get destroyed in the playoff is what they would do.
Yeah.
They'd lose to like Oregon.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they
Something
get
like
beat
that.
at home in the playoff. Or I guess it wouldn't be at home. They
Yeah.
get
Should be at
beat.
home.
Okay, so this game's in Austin too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're losing.
But the
They're
Texans
losing
did
for sure.
not look good. Did not look good
No,
against
I watched the
Georgia.
entire goddamn game,
Oh,
and like I messaged you because I had them in my pick'em, which didn't end up mattering because my SE, it means more. Slate, all three, did a great job of covering. But then it was like, shit, am I just gonna get a goose egg here because 16 and a half point favorites lose outright. So I watched all of that hilarious mess. Actually, I watched the mess part of it, and then at halftime, and I knew they would. I had a feeling I was like, they'll get it within a touchdown. It's just how this is going to go, but I don't know if they'll come through. And then, by the time I saw 30-24, I was like, okay, maybe I should turn this back on. And then they almost still fumbled it at the end,
hmm
right? Like it was
hmm
still just a comedy of errors. Like I've never seen a team play so poorly.
hmm
It was I I'm surprised they didn't just like get on the bus and just go home. Like that's
Yeah.
that's what it looked like they wanted to do because
Yeah.
it was any mistake possible they made.
They
It was
took the opportunity to make
unbelievable.
that mistake. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I had said I had meant Texas didn't play well against Georgia, but
Uh
yes, A&M
oh well,
also
you just
played
expected that
very
though, right?
yeah.
It's just
Well,
like
that bad
it's
though, that was an ass kicking. That was whew.
and what pissed me off was that was my last pick. So when
Yeah.
I was doing my it means more slate, it was who do I those four games, which one gets nixed out?
hmm
And unfortunately, because I was going to take the Bulldogs because it's one of those situations like when Alabama plays Georgia, it's just they don't beat them.
Yeah.
Georgia doesn't
Yeah.
beat Alabama.
Yeah.
Texas doesn't beat Georgia.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Someone did say that Georgia and Oklahoma should trade notes so Oklahoma can learn how to beat Texas
Yeah,
and Georgia or can learn how to beat Alabama. So yeah, I'll just say I mean, I have been a generational hater of Oklahoma, but this Brett Venables
I was
version
gonna
of
say
Oklahoma
and
is the
Venables.
absolute worst.
Yeah,
I mean, I hate the Stoops, the whole family. But I really, really hate Brett Venables. I just dislike him so much. And you know, I mean, they're just not good. Like they're just they're not a good football team. I mean, we're gonna get to the rankings, but like let them in the playoffs. Let them in the playoffs. That's fine. That let Oklahoma in the playoffs and see what happens. But yeah. So though they still have a chance to fuck it up, and they might take that chance. So
yeah. I don't know.
I Mentier's just like not,
I
anyone who's like he had like one or two clutch plays on Saturday, but for the most part, he tried to do his bullshit and he just got eaten alive by the
yeah.
defense. I mean, it's just 17 points off the turnovers. Like that's when you have a pick six and stuff like that, that's the problem. That was the difference in the game was the turnovers. So it is what it is. I just hate Oklahoma and Brett Venables.
The double whammy.
I hate that team. I wish them the absolute worst.
Well, why don't we get to the rankings here?
Yeah. So what do you want
So,
to do? You want
so
to do?
this is yeah. So we're recording this on Monday night. We don't know the rankings for, tomorrow or Tuesday, and you guys will hear this on Wednesday. So I have side by side here what the rankings were um this last week, and then obviously I can see like what the AP is, which is really just more of a reference for me on who won, who lost, where the because for whatever reason ESPN hasn't like updated the wins and losses for the rankings. Even I don't know. I don't know why they can't just keep them in the same thing, but keep the current records. Excuse me. So I can at least see the new records, which there wasn't. Obviously, there's one team that's clearly going to be on the move here. But I think this will be interesting. So I guess just a reminder, or do you want to pull up the last week's rankings just so that you
Yes.
can see
Yes.
um, where we're at, and then Where what do you think the new top 12 will be, and what's your guesses on like how this ends up shaking out?
Yeah. Okay. So okay.
Ohio State doesn't move, right?
Ohio
So
State and Indiana,
stay
one
put.
and two. One, I think they have to stay put.
Yep.
I also think
Big convincing wins on both ends too.
yes, yes. And I also think, they're going to be, assuming that they win, I assume they're going to win out. I assume they'll play each other in the Big Ten championship game. And then, one of them will be at one, and then the other one will be at three or four, depending upon how things shake out. Right.
Yeah.
That's my guess for Ohio State and Indiana. Um, I think keep A&M at three, obviously, because they're still undefeated as well, despite, a win is a win, even against South Carolina. Hey, and who am I to judge on a close win for South Carolina? Um, Four, you got to go Georgia. You got to bump them up a spot. Uh, so are we lockstep there? Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia for the top four?
Yes.
Okay. Five, Red Raiders. Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Okay. So in this case, Ole Miss didn't do enough beating Florida to jump Texas Tech.
Not in my opinion.
Okay.
I have a hard time keeping Texas Tech behind Georgia.
Yep.
I think they're really playing some impressive football right now. I've watched a lot of Texas Tech. I watched the whole BYU game. I watched their game this week. And the BYU game, I think a lot of people watched that, but I mean, then they went ahead and tried to get Rodriguez some Heisman shine by giving him a touchdown run. Like they're just looking very strong and dominant.
And I also think like what's also working to their advantage and their benefit is pundits are talking about them. They're talking
Yes.
about the NIL money that they've spent.
Yes.
So, and as silly as that should sound sounds, it does mean something, right? Like
Yes.
having a national profile, for better or worse, helps. And I think they've been consistently talked about and then have had the results that
Well,
they.
and I want to caveat that NIL funding piece in the way that like they're talking about the amount they spent, and they also spent on the right players.
Yeah.
Like they
Oh yeah.
they
Right.
they paid some like a lot of teams went out there and paid some dudes,
Yeah.
and it has not worked out.
Mhm.
I think the best case, which we keep going back to, is USC 2 years ago with with Caleb. Right, they
Mhm.
spent all that money on that defense, and it just was abysmal. But these guys, they paid players, and it worked. They paid the right players. It worked out for them very well. So that's our top five, right? So Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia, Texas Tech. Six, I got Ole Miss. You?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing where this is where it's going to get tricky is like where does Bama line? Oh, right.
Right.
And
Well,
it's
yeah.
a- and I again like I don't know. It, I think Oklahoma being well, where were they? They were 11. So I think that helps, but I still think the committee. Okay, this is what I think will happen. I think Bama will go. So you have one, two, three, four, five. Okay, so we're talking about six. I think they'll keep Ole Miss at six. I think they'll put Bama at seven
You
and keep Oregon
really?
at eight. I think Oregon should be eight and Bama should be nine because of the two losses. Because then you get to the tiers of two losses, right? Um, I just have a feeling they're gonna still
So what do
put
you
Oregon.
do? What do you do to Oklahoma? Where they go?
I think they sit. I mean, you really think they're gonna jump? So they were at 11, and who they have to jump? I mean, Texas lost, so that
Yes.
helps. Do they really jump both Notre Dame and Oregon? Because Notre Dame won a ranked game against. I get it, right? It is what it is there. And then Oregon blew out a team, right? So and there's still one loss.
So let's look at the AP just to look at what the AP did. The AP did Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia. They did that. They did those four things that we talked about. Then they put Ole Miss, Oregon, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
we both agree Texas Tech jumps Ole Miss and Oregon. Although per the last rankings, they would not have to jump either of those teams. They're
That's
ahead of
yeah,
them
that's the
already,
key
right?
is they already had them there.
So let's say they stay ahead of Ole Miss and Oregon, which is such disrespect to Texas. Actually, they're tied at 6 in the AP. Oregon and Texas Tech are tied at 6.
Yeah.
Um, then they put Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama. That's what I have big issue with. And if I what I think the committee's going to do, I think that they move Notre Dame down a spot to 10, right? And then you bring Oklahoma in. And now here's the question. Do you have Alabama at 8, Oklahoma at 9? Or do you have Oklahoma at 8, Alabama at 9? For me, again, obviously I am very biased, but I think I look at that game, and I mean, you look at all the stats. The only thing that Oklahoma wants the turnover battle, and they got 17 points off that turnover. But I also look at like the strength of schedule, and yeah, Alabama has one loss, the first loss of the season in Florida State. Oklahoma lost to Texas, which that's looking like a worse and worse loss, but it's a rivalry. I get it. Oklahoma lost to Ole Miss, you know. Oklahoma really, I think if you play that Alabama game 10 times, I think they won the one time out of 10. Maybe they win two times out of 10 because Brett Venables does seem to have Alabama's number. But like, this is where I'd say Bama at 8, Oklahoma at 9. But I'm very interested to see what the committee does because yeah, that's a big precedent saying that like it same record, both teams 8-2, head to head. Obviously, Oklahoma has the head to head. So, but do they put Oklahoma ahead or not? Like that's it with the eye test. Which team's better? I think is a different thing than who has the head to head win, even though they just played, right? So, does that make sense?
It does. I just
And I'm putting them there. You're thinking now. Your thought before I don't want to step on your thought. You were having Alabama at 7 and Oklahoma at 9 or 10.
yeah, so I guess a part of me is thinking what the end game's going to be versus what next week's going to be. I
Yeah,
don't think the SEC is getting 6 teams.
no. I mean, well, at most they would get 5, which would be A&M, Alabama, Georgia, A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. That's 5.
Wait, A&M 1, Alabama okay, Alabama, Georgia, so that's 2 3, Ole Miss is 4, Oklahoma 5. Where was I
Texas is
putting?
out of it. Texas, if you're looking at Texas, they're out of it.
Yeah, yeah, 3 losses. Yeah, okay. Maybe I was just miscounting there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay. So, but 5 would mean, okay, so then you have 5 there. Ohio State, Indiana, that's 6, 7. ACC is 8. Notre Dame is 9. Big uh group of 5 is 10. And then we're
You're
talking about
forgetting Oregon, which is the third Big Ten team, which is 11, and you're forgetting a potential second.
yeah, so that's where I think. I don't know that they'll give them 5. Like so
Yeah,
I think it's getting really tricky if you have BYU finish their season, the
yeah.
Tech and they
I know
play in the
exactly
big
where you're
in
going.
the Big
Yeah,
12 championship
I know exactly where you're going with
at
this. Yeah,
one loss and then they lose that Big 10, 12 championship. I guess obviously they win it,
yeah.
then they're definitely keeping both them and Tech. But even if they lose it, I still would value way more. And then I guess if I'm thinking of it, and maybe the committee will think of it this way. I know they have the other metrics, but like Alabama still has a chance at the SEC championship game. Oklahoma doesn't.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
that's going to be a real
yeah,
conundrum for them.
yeah.
Like how do you weigh
Right.
the head to head versus the fact that the Alabama could make the SEC championship
And
game?
strength of schedule and all that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
totally. And strength of schedule very importantly against like I think teams when they played them too, because like with the big caveat being Mizzou, because like they will have a common opponent, like Oklahoma and Bama will have a common opponent in Mizzou, but Alabama played Mizzou with a different quarterback than Oklahoma, than Oklahoma, right? So,
Hmm.
so that's a big thing for me. This is my thing. I think that like these rankings this week, tomorrow, are going to be extremely important because whoever's in the 10 spot could get bumped out. Because in the scenario that Texas Tech loses the Big 12 championship to BYU, assuming that Texas Tech wins out, BYU wins out, and Texas Tech loses to BYU, you have to have both those teams in the playoffs, which to me bumps out the number 10 team, right? Because then you could do five SEC, you could do three Big Ten, which is Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. And then you can do, if you do one Big 12, one ACC, group of five, that leaves one more spot, right? But if you add in
I
a
just don't,
second Big 12 team, then that's where you lose that one more spot.
and I
And to
just don't think
me,
you're losing Notre Dame.
well, that's the thing. I think that the rankings tomorrow have to have Notre Dame go down to 10 because if I have to choose between Alabama, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame, Alabama's for sure getting in. And then if you look at Oklahoma versus Notre Dame, if you look at strength of schedule, like I
That
mean,
would be that would be so ballsy if they added a fifth SEC school to replace Notre Dame.
but
I'm not saying it would be
up until
wrong, but
right,
I'm saying like it's Notre
but
Dame. Like they
we
basically have like
sure,
been
sure,
promised
sure, but
that that they
as
will
soon
be
as
in
sure,
given a certain threshold.
sure, but that's where I think you have to put them at 10 because yes, they will get in, assuming that there's not two Big 12 teams, and the only way there's two Big 12 teams is if Texas Tech wins out, BYU wins out, and BYU beats Texas Tech in the championship. That's the only way.
I don't think they're gonna. Well, okay. So if you have okay, so how would this work? So if you kept Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, then Georgia goes up, which is insane because then Bama could still jump them without them losing because of just a
Well,
strength of schedule thing, right? Like if
yeah.
Texas wins and
Mm.
beats A&M, Bama's in. So they are going to be less than going into they're going to be ranked like let's say fifth
Yeah.
or
Oh
whatever
no,
whatever it is, a
yeah.
seventh in the SEC championship game. I mean, I guess Georgia then in how insane would that be though? Because that would put Georgia in the top four, but before the SEC championship game,
Mhm.
with Alabama being whatever it is, 5, 6, 7, like that's insane.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I mean if and honest, obviously the AP poll and the coaches poll doesn't mean all that much because the rankings last week had Texas Tech above Ole Miss and Oregon, and now it has and they have had like Ole Miss and Oregon over Texas Tech. Like that's something that they
Yeah.
have had, right? So clearly the the committee views Texas Tech higher than that, right? It's also interesting the commissioner of the Big 12 or a Big 12 school is the commissioner of the well, they just had a change there, right? But there's a Big 12 commissioner at the head of the committee. So that's where that's what I'm saying though, is that like where I think that the AP and the coaches poll got it wrong, cannot have Alabama behind Notre Dame right now because it just they're both 8-2, and Alabama's had a way tougher schedule than Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Way tougher. Played way more ranked opponents.
Yeah, Navy though. Navy beating USF. I mean, shoot, I don't know if they're technically out of it yet, but they could be a playoff team, right? Like that's still so undetermined. This group of five, yeah, they're leading the American Conference, so
Yeah.
that would put a wrinkle in that, right? Because then you're saying we blew out the group of five champion.
Well, I mean that's Navy. I think I don't know they're out of it for the American, I guess, but like
They're not. I'm
also
looking at it right now. They're at the top.
right, but you're also not looking at James Madison. Like you're ignoring what they're doing because if James Madison wins out, they're getting in.
Let's see. Where are they? The Fun Belt?
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess where. Oh, I see. I can look at the AP. So, Floor USF. Yeah, but they're not even in this playoff ranking. USF was. So you don't think that. So they're 7-0 in the conference, 9-1, but it doesn't matter if they think that win. That'll actually be really interesting to see how that works out, because if they think that win against the presumed playoff team, is a huge deal for them, they
Hmm.
could very well jump JMU, right? I guess that's
Yeah,
going to really come.
true.
Eh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So you're saying AP, James Madison's there,
yeah.
North Texas, and Navy's not ranked. But again, this doesn't really mean much if it's the AP. So I guess it'll be really interesting to see how they feel. North Texas, they beat badly Navy, if I remember.
North Texas, I think, did beat them badly.
So yeah, wow. It's crazy. Okay, they beat them by 14. That's right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just how much is still up in the air, and like, I think there's a good chance that some of this is moot, right? So BYU has to travel all the way to Cincinnati. While I don't think Cincinnati's nearly as good, that's still like they've played really well at home.
Mm.
BYU going across the country, so that just might play itself out. They might just knock themselves out and
Well,
just
but
solidify a Big 12 one, right?
well, no, not really, because as long if Texas Tech wins the Big 12, they're getting one in just Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's what I said. So if BYU wins out and gets the Big 12 championship, and even if they lose, that's tricky. But they could very well just lose to Cincinnati this
But
week, and
but
it's
if
a
they
moot
lose to
point.
Cincinnati this week and then
Yeah,
I don't know at that point if BYU or BYU would still be ahead, I think, in
because of
the
Utah. Yeah,
yeah, they'll be ahead of Utah. But yeah, I mean BYU, even if they lose Cincinnati, if they beat Texas Tech in the championship game, you got to
well,
have the
yeah,
Big 12
well, yeah,
champion, and then you got to bring in Texas Tech. So
yeah. I
if
just
if
don't think they
Texas
will.
Tech wins the Big 12, they'll do everyone a big old favor and make
Right.
this
Yeah.
super easy, right? Uh, but no,
Super easy from like potentially who gets in, but not the rankings. Because again, A&M is this linchpin. They lose, and you get four-way ties on just who even gets to the SEC championship to elevate their rankings,
yeah,
right? Like the you might have the field solidified, but you definitely won't
yeah,
have buys, home field,
yeah,
et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah. I guess if I'm looking at all this, I have Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, and then I have Alabama, Notre Dame, Oklahoma. That's my top 10.
Notre Dame, Oklahoma. Yeah, see, I think what'll like I don't disagree with you from like just a football standpoint. But I have a feeling they might do something like so Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia, Tech, Ole Miss. Honestly, I could totally see them
Alabama at the seventh spot.
Oklahoma. I
Oh,
could see them
Oklahoma at the seventh
I
spot.
could see them putting Oklahoma, Oregon, Alabama, Notre Dame.
I can deal with that.
I
I,
would
I
hate
can
it,
deal with
but
that.
like I could
I
see
would
them
I would
doing
hate
that.
it. Yeah, I think that's ranking Oklahoma way too high.
Yeah. But like you said, you're at 11, and beating number 4 is only going to get you 2 spots.
Yeah,
That's where I just don't know, right? They dropped
yeah,
BYU 5. I mean, again, it's BYU, I
yeah.
get it, like losing, but I could just see them like really bumping Oklahoma up for beating number 4 in Tuscaloosa.
Sure. And let them in. I would love to see Oklahoma get their heads kicked in.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's
that's,
what I mean. Like ultimately, I still think
yeah,
you're looking at about 4 teams, maybe a
yeah.
fifth that
I love
realistically
I
can
love when
win.
Brett Venables looks dumb on TV. Like
Yeah,
when things start going bad for him, he looks dumb in the best ways. So like, yeah, I'd love to see that, honestly.
I mean, I really hate to admit it, but I just don't know if anyone's going to beat Ohio State again. I hate it.
Oh,
They're
this
they've
year,
just been so
man.
they've just been so consistent. They're not like I'm not going to say they're nothing like their team last year, right? Like that was just an underperforming NFL roster, right?
Yeah.
Like that was not surprising the way they took over. I don't think this team is necessarily there, but like it's just hard to argue. The defense has not skipped a beat, and Sayan has done enough on offense. The problem is they don't run the ball well. So
Yeah.
that's where it is. So if they run up against a team, but it's like, okay, Alabama hasn't been great against the run. Georgia has been horrific. So it's like who's that team that's going to be stout enough against the run? Is it Tech? Are we really talking about Texas Tech in a national championship?
Dude, Tech,
Maybe.
they look great.
I
They
know.
they look
It's crazy to
they
think about.
look
Like
so
Indiana's
good
obviously
consistently.
gonna have their chance to prove that they've matured over
Yeah.
this last season, but like
I
I don't
the
know, like
thing,
Oregon's not
yeah.
quite there at the same level to stop the run and make Sand, but maybe Sand just does it. I don't know.
The
Maybe it's just
only
him and Jeremiah go fucking YOLO.
the only thing with Ohio State is just like I can't remember if we talked about this or I talked about it with someone else. They just haven't faced a lot of any adversity
No,
going this
they
year.
haven't.
Like they just kind of caked walk through it. So like that's where I wonder like now, granted, last year they hit adversity and then played three of the best games of football that they've played all year, right?
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
also kind of sleptwalked through most of last year.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then they
They
hit
didn't
the
look good,
adversity. Yeah. And then
got
they played
embarrassed,
three. Yeah. And
and
then they
then
played three
decided
great
they wanted
games.
to win,
Right.
right? Yeah.
So that's what I think is gonna be that's what I think is gonna be the big thing here, right?
Yeah.
Like Ohio State, honestly, I kind of want them to cakewalk into the playoff.
I mean, they will.
And
I
then
know we talk about the Michigan thing because it's been a thing. I've watched, and it's not just me being a hater, but like they just aren't good. They aren't.
no,
So I mean, that Northwestern game is just another example of just that. It's a freshman quarterback. Like I'm
yeah,
not saying they're going to be terrible for forever. Like Underwood, if he can figure out how to not throw 100 miles an hour on all of his passes, I think they'll be fine in the coming years.
finesse. It's called finesse,
Yeah.
Bryce. Yeah.
And they need to use his legs, but that's fine. I just, yeah, I just don't think Ohio State's going to have any trouble with them. I don't think Underwood's going to be able to give them
No,
enough
no,
on
I
offense.
yeah.
Even if Ohio State struggles on offense, I just think it'll be attrition. I think Sayan's less likely to make the big mistake. Without Carnell Tate, though, that's a big deal as far as like winning a natty, right? Because
Yeah.
like if you can just focus, if they can't run the ball very well, and then you focus all your energy on Smith, like I think there's a recipe to stop them without. I mean, I know they have other pedigree, obviously receivers, but not any that are like as established
Right.
as Tate and obviously Smith have been. So
Yeah, yeah. I think
I don't know.
I think the Indiana games could be very interesting
Yeah.
because that's going to be the best defense and the best offense that they've seen all year for
Yeah.
sure by
Hmm.
far. Like I agree. I think they're just going to dog walk Michigan. And then yeah, we'll get to the Big Ten championship. We'll see what happens, right? But that'll be a real good litmus test for them.
Yeah, and it's such a shame because if you're asking me, I don't know, like what one, this is just gonna further solidify 16 teams, which is gonna suck. But like this is someone's it's gonna be that weird situation where like if that fifth SEC team isn't put in because BYU does something and et cetera, or Notre Dame and a crazy thing gets knocked out, it's just gonna further expedite a 16 team playoff, which I don't think anyone needs to see because there aren't 16 teams that are actually vying for a national
No,
championship.
no. I mean,
Um,
yeah, as we sit here right now, if we went out to 16, right? I mean, then you're talking BYU and Utah get in for sure, like Vandy, Miami, Georgia
like,
Tech. Yeah, that's
yeah,
where we're at. So, I mean, it can't go past 16 because then you're really, I bet to if they can find a way to make money off it, they will
I
do
know.
that and they will expand this thing as big as it could. Every bowl game will be part of the playoff.
But that's the key there. If they're gonna expand it, then they have to have the first two rounds on campus. If they do
Yeah,
that, it'll at least be interesting because you're gonna get weird matchups that you never get in the regular season. You could have like, someone going out to Rice Eccles, right? A warm weather team going to Rice Eccles, in the first or second round. I still think they're gonna eventually put that second round
yeah,
um, at even if they stick to 12 on campus because one, you're punishing the programs that get a bye, and two, I think you're really going to get fatigue of fans, especially of fans of successful programs.
yeah.
They're not going to Glendale and then going to Miami and then going to Los Angeles for a national championship. You're not going to get people that are going to spend 50 grand to.
No, no, no. Wait, hold on. Now, EJ, let me put this out there. Like, what if the United Arab Emirates says we'll host the first two rounds in Qatar? Right?
Yeah,
Well, then that goes right out the window. Then
yeah.
then we'll pay $100 million per school, and we'll host the first two rounds in Qatar. Then they'll be a 32 team field.
Are they going to pay for everyone to go?
Yeah, yeah,
They're just
dude.
gonna pay. Here's free tickets.
Yeah,
We're just
dude.
gonna pay for everything.
Yeah, totally. Not
The
the
funny
fans.
thing
They're not
is,
gonna
it's
pay for the
not out of
fans.
like
They'll
the
send the
realm of
whole team to it.
possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not
No, we
impossible,
laugh about it, but like we're about a decade away from that being real or
dude.
Saudi, like the
Yeah, the
Saudis.
Saudis will bring them all over. Yeah, dude. Imagine, imagine a bunch of Saudi princes with
Yeah,
their shirts off, going tarps off, spin them up.
tarps off. That would be great. That's also just a great movement. That's been one of the only things I've followed from Michigan State is their
Uh,
tarps off section has continued to grow even as the team continues to lose and shit all over itself.
uh,
Yeah,
they're
you just
just
gotta love
tarps
doing.
off in the stands. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Uh, I want to see it now so bad. Oh,
All right. Now we have a couple
oh,
of things we need to talk about because there's breaking news today.
oh
Virginia
yeah.
Tech, they hired their new coach. There's been a lot of smoke to this. It makes a ton of sense to me.
Great
I
fit.
think this is a home run for them.
Totally. Agree
James
completely.
Franklin going to Blacksburg. I think this is exactly what Virginia Tech needs.
I saw it. I just happened to pull up Twitter, saw the tweet from Thamel, immediately slacked two of my coworkers, Nick and Connor. I'm like, James Franklin. And they're both
Oh, that's
pumped.
right.
They're
Yeah.
they're pumped. I am pumped for them. I think, yeah, I mean, home run. Like this is the a great fit. Um, it's a good hire for them. And I mean, honestly, there's a chance that Penn State looks real foolish in a couple years. Now, Grant, I do think that James Franklin wore out his welcome at Penn State. I do think it was the right time to move on there. Like he didn't win the big one. But it's a lot easier to at least get to the championship game in the ACC than it is in the Big Ten when you have a coach that can recruit and navigate the portal like James Franklin can. So, yeah, I mean, I
It's
think it's great.
Yeah, and as far as Penn State goes, like you're right. Like I think one, he's already recruited that area. Virginia's actually has some good homegrown talent,
Hmm.
like especially in the southeast part, like the Norfolk, Suffolk, and then obviously the DMV area
Yeah,
also has great recruits. That's why Maryland is actually kind of shocking with Loxley because it's a tough place to go, but he was at least getting some recruits. I mean, that's a different conversation, but like there is talent without even having to stretch. And
1,000%.
clearly, like Pennsylvania is not that much further away. So,
Yeah,
like Franklin's very familiar and is much of a tool as he is. The one thing he's really great at is recruiting and helping to build the programs that he's at. Obviously, Penn State was already, established. They, at least Bill O'Brien got themselves back up to where they were previous the scandal with Sandusky. But I just think with Penn State, their expectations are different. Like,
yeah,
yes, while there could be a result of Virginia Tech advancing further than Penn State. Like you said, that's all based. There's so much more context to that. It's like, okay, they have a shitty conference, and are they gonna win anything in the playoff? Absolutely
Yeah.
fucking not, because it's James Franklin. But that's a great for them to at least be in the conversation. They're
Oh,
not
if they
even
were,
remotely close, right?
yeah, if they were, if he does, if in year, I mean, well, I guess in this era of NIL and everything, you have to accelerate schedules. But like, if they're bowl eligible next year, and then by the following year they're at 10 wins, like, or even in the ACC championship game, like, they will extend that man's contract for the next decade. Like, yeah, I think you're right. There is a different kind of like bar and expectation at Virginia
Yeah.
Tech right now. And it's a great brand, and he does very well with branding, right?
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
great brand that he can revitalize. Um,
Tradition,
yes,
stadium that's known for it. Like it
yes.
really is just it's a great fit. And honestly, I think there will be headlines. I can already see them because you're right. Honestly, he can flip that script real quick. And the
Hmm.
fact that, like, depending on who Penn State gets in, he might even be able to convince the recruits he was
That's
going
the
to
thing.
get, right? Like,
It's the perfect time to make the announcement in the
yeah.
middle of November, because you can flip some kids now, and you have kids starting to think about portal,
Mhm.
for the end of the year,
Yep.
and now they know what Virginia Tech has to offer, right? So
Yeah.
he can go after those kids now. So it's absolutely the right time to offer it. Yeah, great hire, great
Eh,
fit.
yeah, and I think, like, I definitely will. I can almost guarantee, depending on who Penn State pulls, I can almost guarantee, like, reading the headlines of was it a mistake, was it that? I still think they did the right thing because
Yeah, they did.
their
They did.
expectation is to at least every 5 years, right? And this is where I would hold Michigan State, even if Penn State has more, a little bit more resources. Is like, yeah, I get it. Ohio State dominates. Michigan is always right, and then they shouldn't have been as bad as they've been over the years. Oregon joining is a big deal, but like every fifth year, there should be that other program. I know, obviously Indiana now is going to be there as long as Signetti's
Mm,
there, but you should be there. And he couldn't break that barrier. And with the resources Penn State has, they should be like playoff contenders once every class, right?
yeah.
Like they should, not even playoff contender, national championship contender. They really have the
Well,
resources to be in that, like, flirting
last
with the
year they
bye,
were.
getting right.
Last year they, but to your point,
You couldn't get,
to your point,
yeah.
couldn't get the job done,
No.
and the way things happened this year was, it was time to go, because
Yeah.
this was as good of a shot as he ever had. So
Yeah. So I do think I obviously if Penn State nails this hire, I think it'll be fine. Um, I think they still, regardless of what happens over the next couple of years, especially like I said, I have a feeling, given the fact that, like, if we're just looking at the ACC here, I think he's gonna be okay. I think they're
yeah,
they're gonna flip the script, especially depending on what happens with Dabo. Obviously, Cristobal's Cristobal, so like there's a real possibility he can flip it, but I still think Penn State made the right move,
totally,
even if the next coach isn't the guy. I still
totally.
think, like,
You had
you
to
know,
make a change. It was
yeah.
time for a change. Yeah, and yeah, sometimes Redder just gets old, man. So,
Yep. And then the next thing is, what bottle of whiskey do you think I should pick?
oh, dude,
Um, be,
I'm not worried. I'm not concerned by this report at all. At all.
because if you guys aren't aware, if you remember, Mike has bet me a bottle that Lane Kiffin is going to forego the tantalizing options in Baton Rouge and in Gainesville to stay in Oxford. And then there were reports today that indicated, like, confirmed reports indicating his family has
Were they confirmed?
traveled.
I mean, that's on three sports. I just checked. I didn't see anything from Pete Thamel. So, like, what? I mean, that's on three sports. That's
Yeah,
like
but
putting it
when
out there. How reputable is on three sports?
Pete Nokos,
I
um,
want to see. I want to see Pete Thamel tweet
I mean,
something
I
out.
saw like a million pictures of, like, his family getting off a plane.
Was
So
that them? It was blurry.
yes.
Do you know that was their family?
Yes. So there were reports now that the family members of Kiffin's has gone to Gainesville and has gone to Baton Rouge, and that has put with Brett McMurphy, who is a very reputable source within college football, has now said it is a very tough situation for Ole Miss because they have to make up their minds on whether or
I
not
gotta see
to.
McMurphy's tweet.
Yeah, so that was the first one I sent you. So now there's a deadline on whether or
Oh,
not.
Brett. I see. Well, I didn't realize Brett works for On.
Yeah.
I mean
So
that
whether or not so clearly Kiffin has not voiced his um, thoughts of leaving the program. They're not dumb. And now they're approaching a deadline of not allowing him to coach and moving on from him. Pressure on all sides, right? If Kiffin's going to make a move to leave, he probably has to do it insanely before this playoff run, because the other programs like with Virginia Tech are going to want to
Can I
get
be honest with you?
hit the
Can I be
ground
honest with you?
running. And so now it's like if he doesn't talk to Ole Miss, they could get just know he's going to leave
Yeah.
anyway, and which they would want to
He's
bail
not
on
leaving.
him.
You know what? You know what, man? I'll you know what? He's not leaving. I stand by it still. I'm totally comfortable. I'm totally comfortable with my bet. He's not going anywhere. And you know what this is? I'll tell you what this is. Uh this is all a little bit of puppeteering behind the scenes. This is a lot of the coaches that are out there this cycle are all represented by Jimmy Sexton. You know who else Jimmy Sexton represents? Lane Kiffin. Jimmy Sexton saying, "Hey, Lane, because why in the world? Why in the blue hell would you send your family to Gainesville and Baton Rouge to scout around? That's so like Lane has been to these towns. He's played in these towns. He knows what they have to offer. Why would you send your family? Like who cares? Like is there are they checking to see if there's like a Pinkberry or a Publix or something like that like near like that's what I don't get. I think it's so dumb. I think that Jimmy Sexton's just trying to drive up some offers and drive up the appeal of some of the other coaches that he is representing to try to get them a bigger deal and to get Lane a bigger deal at Ole Miss. That's what I think is happening. So
So you don't think, like, I mean, you have all these coaches. You have Mike Elko before his before almost historically losing, getting contract extensions. And the second that Brian Kelly was fired, that what's the $5 haircut? Billy Napier was fired. You don't think money would come? So I'm gonna guess that it's more likely that Lane is not wanting to extend and has not signed a contract. You're already speaking of it, right? Like clearly Ole Miss has probably already given him an extension because of all
Lane's just doing a favor to Jimmy Sexton and being
yeah,
like, sure, you know, we can my family can go take a free trip to Gainesville and Baton Rouge. No, they go on vacation. That's totally fine. I need to prep for the Egg Bowl anyways.
two,
And like, what?
two,
To what?
two, two places. We're not
Yeah,
even
no.
talking about one, not even a bidding war between, hey,
Yeah.
I don't want to leave, but I really want to get the two places
Yeah,
his
he's
family went.
that's so
Two.
crazy. That's
Exactly. He's
crazy.
leaving. He's
No, he's
leaving.
why would you why like why?
We already talked about this.
If I was offered another job somewhere, the last thing I would do, especially in 2025 where you can see what everyone's doing, is send my family to go check it out. That's just crazy. He's not genuinely considering these offers. Lane Kiffin is staying at Ole Miss.
You're right, because he's made all of these comments like all the other coaches, right? Dan Lanning, hell no, right? Elko signs extension. Signetti signs extension. All these coaches have publicly said absolutely not, or put, their money where their mouth is. And we already talked about this. Where's
100%.
LSU rank on jobs available?
Number one.
And Florida, I'm gonna just tell you right now, Gainesville, Oxford. Florida's a better job than Ole Miss. And it's
Oh,
not saying
yeah.
Ole Miss is a bad job. This is just bad luck for them Terrible luck
I
that
think he's
these
staying in the SIP, dude.
programs
Come to the
and Lane
SIP.
Kiffin known for staying in places. Yeah, I'm
He's a
going.
different man.
I
He's a
feel
different man.
I feel really good, and I'm honestly, what's going to even be better is I'm going to ask you for a recommendation on the whiskey that you're going to buy me.
Totally fine. Totally fine. I mean, I'll share with you. Whatever you buy me, I'll share with you. You should ask for a recommendation for the ball that you buy me. So yeah.
uh,
Yeah, dude. I will triple stamp and double stamp. Like Lane
also,
Kiffin staying put.
can we
In
just
Oxford.
also, aside from our bet, just talk about how batshit crazy the fact that like a playoff bound team has an actual like deadline to again, forget about the
Oh,
who
that
it
they put the
is in our
deadline on
bet.
Lane.
The
Yeah,
fact
yeah.
that it is an actual conversation for a playoff team in the SEC to be legitimately like, if he's gonna fuck us, we better fuck him first, right?
Which
Like
which
that's crazy to me.
yeah. No, I this again, I think it's all just Jimmy Sexton trying to help out his other clients. That's what it is.
I guess, but that doesn't matter because Jimmy Sexton and Ole Miss is never going to be able to offer the amount of money that LSU will offer, right? So he makes 9 million a year, and LSU will can very easily give him like 14 and put him up there with people he shouldn't be up there with.
No,
And
dude.
that's just something Ole Miss is not going to be able to match. And it doesn't mean it's always about money, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I personally think, like, what the fuck's the difference between like 10 extra million if you know what you're doing with your money? But if you love a place, right? If you have a place, I don't know why because Lane doesn't have kids, right? So I guess that doesn't matter, right? If you're thinking about families and stuff like that,
Lane's
but
just been tweeting about Egg Bowl week. He's just been retweeting stuff about Egg Bowl week right now.
well,
So
of
you know what,
course,
man? Yo, man.
that's the point. That's the point. No, I'm not fucking leaving. Nothing. Let's just well, I'm on to the Egg Bowl because the Egg Bowl is going to probably be before that that deadline anyway, right? So yeah,
I'm telling you,
and
man.
the fact let's just talk about them. That's a little scary
No,
going into
the
Stark
deadline's
Vegas.
the deadline's the Egg Bowl, right? So
Is it
they'll
okay? Is it before that game?
no, it's what did they say? Hold on, let me see. What's the deadline?
Yeah,
I saw Egg Bowl. Let me see.
Ole Miss is looking for clarity. Oh God, one. Oh, I guess they do have a bye week this week, so
Yeah.
which actually, but that probably even puts more fire, more flames to this fire. The fact that he has now time to actually like think about this, like actually legitimately. And now that I'm really thinking about this, the timing is even more so of him. I do think he's making a
It
decision.
says
I don't
before
think
the
it's
Egg Bowl.
decided.
Before the Egg Bowl.
Right. So
I
that's
think
2 weeks, and they don't have a game this week, right?
no, they do not because they're 10-1, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
or 9-1. No, they do have a game this week then, right? They have a game this week. Or no,
Oh,
they're
it's
10,
12.
sorry, they're 10-1. They're 10. Yeah, no game
Yep.
this week.
Yeah. So
They're
that
off
that
and then they got the
that
Egg
this
Bowl.
timing makes even more sense. So like,
Totally.
yeah,
He's on a
this
bye. If he wanted to go, he'd go.
he doesn't have to. That's the thing. Like you said, he's been there a million times. That's not the fact that family is going. That's a different story,
He's just
right?
letting them get out, get about, you
If
know.
it was an absolute hell no, that you wouldn't need to. You can make contract negotiations without sending your family to places, let alone sending them to both fucking place. And it's clear. We talked about this a while ago, right? When you're talking about who these candidates could be. He was up there, right? He was top three with some of these other coaches who have
Wait,
either
Nick
gotten
Saban was up
extensions.
there. Nick Saban was up there as a
Yeah,
candidate.
and then they showed a
Steve
video of
Spurrier. They're talking
right.
about Steve Spurrier come back and coaching, you
Yeah,
know?
and then you saw the video of him on a couch or in his chair, basically grandpapaing and fucking Miss Terry saying, "Sit your ass up. We're here for a birthday party." There has never been a piece of evidence that has more solidified the fact that Saban is done than that video of him at that birthday celebration in his recliner and Miss Terry being like, "Dude, sit your fucking ass up.
I got this
We're
cake for
singing.
you. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. This is your birthday cake. Sit up. Yeah, no, dude, he's
Right.
chill. He's chilling. That's it. He is done because he's. I mean, I went.
He's also making how much money at ESPN too?
Yeah,
Probably more
I
than
mean, well,
Lane is
he
making
doesn't
at Ole
need the
Miss.
money. He doesn't need the money. He has the money. He's set. He has he has
But he's still getting
Mercedes
compensated.
dealerships, Ferrari dealerships. He's
But
good to
he's
go.
still being compensated,
And
probably
yes,
more
he
than
is.
Lane
Yes,
is.
he is being with zero stress. Like that's the thing is he's just
Yeah.
like chilling now. Like and he's having fun. Like
Yeah.
by all you can see it with your own eyes, but like Kirk Herbstreit talked about it on his podcast that he has with Joey Galway. Like the man's and Joey talked about it too. Joey's like that man brought me out to Georgia, played around at golf, beat my ass, and then we went out and he took me out on his boat and drove me around his lake. That man doesn't have a care in the world. He's chilling, he's
Yeah,
happy,
because
and
he
he's
has
having
six
fun
national
doing game
championships.
day.
Do you want to know what Lane Kiffin doesn't have?
Six
Any.
national champ. Yeah. And
Well, okay, and he is a head coach.
It's
I don't,
head
even-
coach,
did
right.
did they win with him? I really
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
They won my
and he is a
favorite
good
national
coach.
championship, the Jake
Okay.
Coker national championship, the
Okay.
one, two OJ Howard touchdowns where he's just standing on the sideline like this when the ball is not even in the air yet. He's got his hands up on the sideline because he knows it's going to OJ. But
Yeah, is this the season that he, got left at a stadium?
yes, it is.
Okay.
It
Just
is,
to
yeah,
be
it
clear.
is the airport season. But they won that game. They won that game and they left him in the airport.
Which just shows you how much people love Lane Kiffin.
He's no, Nick does love playing, but I mean,
Miss Terry giving him a little pat on the head, saying how
that
cute
was
it was at him and Kirby. Even at least Kirby got his cute little one, right?
yeah, yeah. But dude, no, Wayne's staying at the SIP.
Well, the funny thing is, I think we're probably going to have like a decision probably by this week. If I had to
Well,
guess, by this weekend with their bye, so that if they were going to like need to replace him, or if they don't feel like he's being truthful to them, you'd want, especially because you're a playoff team, right? Like
yeah,
you're gonna want a coach to have like your interim to be able to do the week of for the Egg Bowl and prepare. So I would guess that this is probably going to be resolved either way by
yeah,
this weekend. I would be shocked if they let him stay without having 100% commitment. But that doesn't mean anything anymore, right? Like there's been
yeah.
plenty of coaches
Well,
that
if
have
it was
failed
up
and
to
shit.
if it was up to Lane, I think he would just troll. I think he would just troll away.
Yeah, but the other programs are they'll do the same thing, right? Because of the James Franklin, like we talked about, like especially at places like LSU and Florida, like they're gonna move on, right? They're not gonna hold out because he isn't like
that's
he's
the
not
thing.
saving.
That's one thing I want to talk about this James Franklin thing. This is a great get for Virginia Tech for I think the fit coach in school and everything like that. The timing of it we talked about from like a player's perspective, but also like they're the first domino,
Mhm.
and now it sets every other school into a panic.
Yep. Yeah.
Literally
Yeah.
every other head coaching position now is like a total panic. It's bad for the candidates. It's bad for the coaches too, or for the schools too. They're in a worse situation than they were before this announcement. So
Yep.
Virginia Tech and James Franklin screwed everyone else over with this. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I think they're really going to want to make their decisions because he is going to be able to. I mean, he's obviously recruited 5 stars, and you don't want your 5-star kid to go to him
yeah,
because he has all the time in the world to be able to. And again, maybe he's not pulling from Mississippi. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand that he, is likely to be recruiting elsewhere, but he's not just like some up and coming dude that's XYZ. Like, no, like he has the ability to now get into some kids' ears, or maybe there's a Penn State kid that you're excited about that he's going to be able to flip back to Virginia Tech now. So,
yeah,
yeah, no, you're right. I think this is definitely going to force LSU and Florida. And then the fact that there's 2 of them also competing for Lane it's Ole Miss against 2, which makes it even worse because even if they outlandishly overpay or whatever the situation is like that, this really puts Ole Miss in a tough spot that there's 2
Yeah.
premier programs that clearly are interested and have a running clock. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how this shakes out.
The LSU thing is weird too, given that like the governor's running that whole
I
thing,
know.
like the
It
fact
means
that they're
more.
rolling out the red carpet for this for Lane, like, and Grant, I think Lane's a much better fit for that program than Brian Kelly.
Yeah,
But like, did you
without a
not
doubt.
learn? Did you not just fire your athletic director because of this type of stuff that he did? Like, did you not learn your lesson? Because like,
They just want to win, baby.
yeah, but dude, if they swing and miss on this one, which I am still on the record of saying that they will
Yeah.
swing and miss on this one, then like, oh, you're kind of screwed. Because
But
like,
you've also been on the record of talking about how you've wanted Lane to take over Alabama. So maybe they see it like you do. And if he's the guy, maybe they go up even more outlandish
yeah,
with the offers to get him
I
there.
also I also think Wayne to Alabama is a oh, God, yeah, I wish they would have done whatever it take to have gotten him last year. I mean, I'm coming around to DeBoer a little bit, but like,
He's fine. Like
yeah,
again, I think a part of this is also you guys having to like rewire your brain and realize that there isn't going to be another Nick Saban coming through that door. So like
yeah,
there was your coach was always going to be less perfect than Saban.
yeah,
Um, but I think you guys did a pretty darn good job getting the
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Like I think
yeah.
there you could have done way worse.
I will say this though. I think with the way the coaching carousel is now, I don't know anyone else. If you're like a Florida State and you were thinking about firing Mike Norvell, you kind of can't fire him at this point because like with the amount of openings, premier openings that are out there, if you're Florida State and you fire Norvell, you're really, I mean,
Goalish.
yeah, you are way down on the list at this point. So, and way behind on the search too. So,
I
yeah,
think they're probably likely to because there's such established better programs looking for coaches. I think they're going to have to take a swing at an up and coming guy and
yeah,
just hope that they get the right up and coming guy versus
mm,
getting pulling the big name from a big
yeah,
program.
yeah,
Which I don't know, that might not be a bad thing. It's a little
mhm,
less known, but
yeah.
okay. Woof. We guys, I guess I probably should have prefaced this that this was going to be this type of episode, but we kind of like teased it last
We said
week.
last week we were gonna do this, so yeah, yeah.
And then we had, obviously this Lane news, this James Franklin news. Now it's time for us to just get to it, right? To get to probably leading into this season, this was probably the trophy, right? Like when we were
Yes.
thinking best of the rest, it was immediately this
Last season,
guy.
even
Yeah.
last season was
Mike's
gonna
been
squeeze
waiting
it
on
in.
this for a while, right? Like, they're power four-ish, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't care if they're FCS.
In my book, they are. Yeah.
They are within the FCS, right? Which we'll even get to in a little bit. But today we are talking about the Brawl of the Wild game played between the Montana Grizzlies. There it is. There it is. And the Montana State Bobcats. And this is where I usually tell you any guesses to what a trophy like this could look like. But you know, if you are a listener of this, you probably know as well because you love college football. And we've already talked about this from the second that we saw this bad boy.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to get to the snapshot of the rivalry so we can just get to this. The first matchup between these two schools was in 1897. Montana won the game 18-6, but Montana State won 6 of the first 10 games. However, the Grizzlies lead this overall series 74 wins to 43 losses to 5 ties. This rivalry is the 31st oldest in NCAA Division 1 and is the 11th oldest rivalry west of the Mississippi and is also the 4th oldest in FCS. So within FCS, definitely historic. Then you start to broaden it, and it still is, even within the top 30, one of the oldest rivalries, right?
Yep.
In-state rivalry as well. And then since 1993, the matchup has been the final game of the season for both schools, which has often had implications for the Big Sky Conference Championship. Spoiler alert, it's going to be the same case this year.
Mhm.
And it's automatic bid into the FCS playoffs. And previously, before 1993, this game was played in late October or early November. So still, towards the end of the season, but not like, last week, second to last week. And then one thing we have done the small school spotlight on Montana from an earlier trophy we talked about, but we have not done Montana State. So I thought that we could go through a little bit of small school spotlight here with Montana State in Bozeman. So it is the closest major university to Yellowstone National Park, only about 90 miles away. And that gives Montana State a big advantage in environmental, geological, and wildlife studies as well.
Yeah. Yep.
And Montana State has helped build and launch satellites and scientific instruments used on NASA missions.
Got another alien school. Okay.
Yep. That's exactly
Okay.
where my thought went. Students and faculty have contributed to solar physics and heliophysics projects in collaboration with NASA. And the architecture for the university is inspired by the Rockies. Many of the buildings are designed with a rustic mountain aesthetic, using native stone and complementing, which complements the surrounding Gallatin range of mountains, which is pretty cool. Kind of not surprising given it's Montana. They also have the Museum of the Rockies located on campus. So this is a Smithsonian affiliated museum, and it houses one of the largest dinosaur fossil collections in the world,
Very
in-
cool.
including the largest T-Rex skull ever found. Yeah.
How to say how big it is?
It did not. It's funny because I have seen the most complete T-Rex fossil, like the most complete of the amount of bones, Sioux.
Yeah.
So I saw Sioux in Chicago at their
Mhm.
natural history. No, it's not. What is there?
Probably Museum of Natural History.
Yeah. When I was a kid, early preteen, which is pretty cool, obviously, because, probably first time I had seen dinosaur fossils. And then to see a pretty complete T-Rex of all dinosaurs was pretty cool. And Sue travels around. So it was kind of lucky that, she just happened to be in Chicago at the time. But yes, I did not get to see what the largest, what the size of the skull is, but I don't think it's Sue. Sue is the most complete T
Gotcha.
Rex. They're also known for the Bozeman Hot Springs, which is a natural geothermal spa area just outside the city that has been in use since the 19th century.
Love a good hot spring. Love a good natural hot
I've
spring.
never been in one. I know there's
Really?
like no, I know there's the one in
Oh,
Virginia that's west where presidents used to stay.
yeah.
I
We almost did a little
Yep, like an
excursion there.
anniversary
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
there.
yeah,
But we didn't end up doing it. And I haven't been in Berkeley Springs is another one that's
yeah.
there. I mean, obviously I know there's probably more beautiful ones out west, but
As a fit, like whenever I was, I don't know, like in middle school or something, we went to Colorado, and we went to I think it was Silverado is where the hot springs were, or something like that in Colorado. So they have a lot of they have a very large, maybe the largest in the US hot spring. It was because like the hotels that we stayed at, they had their own hot springs, and it was like little, like the big wooden tubs,
okay.
so it was like a big like wooden tub, but then like there's like this gigantic outdoor pool. Like it's essentially an outdoor pool, but it is a hot spring, right? Like and that it's huge. It's like Olympic sized, but it's an outdoor hot spring. Like it's the size of a pool,
Yeah.
Olympic sized pool, but it's a hot spring. So yeah, it's
Are those, this might be a dumb question, but I really don't know much about hot springs. Are those naturally salt or are they fresh water?
I
Or are
well, so
the
it's fresh water,
okay.
but it's but like there wasn't like a bad like sulfur smell or anything
Okay.
like that,
Yeah.
so I know some springs have that sulfur smell, but not
Is there any kind of like because I guess when I always think of a hot spring, I always think of something that has like a natural like jacuzzi
Oh,
pressure, I
like a
guess, for lack.
pressure of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
I
they
mean,
have
like
that or is it pretty still?
so at the hotel, I think it was jetted, but I think
Yeah.
that the jetted was like built in.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but like it was still water at the
Okay.
pool. Yeah, it was still. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. Well, like yeah, you think of like the springs like in Iceland and stuff like that. That's all still. That's like huge and everything. So
Okay.
I think
I
yeah,
feel like I've always just like when I've seen pictures, it has looked foamy, which just made me think of, that there is some natural like, bubbling going on. But then I like the more I think about it, I'm like, well, but what would make that like maybe like occasionally, like I don't know exactly the science behind the hot springs, if there is like any kind of y- current, for lack of better terms, that goes on. But yeah, I guess again, I
maybe it
haven't
wasn't
really.
okay. Maybe it wasn't. Oh, okay. Sorry. It's I fact checked myself. I think it was so the hot springs weren't in Silverton in Colorado. I think it might have been it could have been the Pinkerton Hot Springs between Silverado or Silverton and Durango. Oh, Ouray. Ouray. That's it. Ouray Hot Springs. Yeah, Ouray Hot Springs. This is the one I'm thinking of. Yes, because they have a giant. Yeah, like that's it, right? So it's like
Oh,
a
okay.
gigantic pool. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ouray.
interesting.
Yeah, or oh yeah,
But it's just naturally hot. That's
multiple pools of varying temperatures, known for its
okay.
sulfur-free mineral water. Yeah, so yeah,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes,
So there are some hot springs that are a bit more sulfuric.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, the nice thing about Ouray is it was not sulfuric. So
Okay.
yeah, it's huge. I mean, look,
Yeah.
this is here's another picture. Like you can see, it's massive,
Yeah.
absolutely massive. That was the crazy thing. I was like, holy smokes. Like it was
Right.
not what I
You're
expected.
thinking like
Yeah.
yeah, jacuzzi size thing where everyone has to cram in for like 5 minutes and then it's like, get the
No,
fuck out.
yeah, it's a whole hot springs park. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouray. Yeah, because I remember this building too. We ate there.
Okay.
So yeah. 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 Nice whole town. Ouray, Colorado. It's right in between Silverton and Durango. I keep saying Silverado. Right
What
in between Silverton and Durango.
Okay, so where is that? Because I know of Colorado as like, the western the Rockies split the state and not a lot's going on in the western part and you have like Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs going from north to south. Where is that?
I believe Durango's southwest.
Oh,
Let me
oh,
check.
okay. So
Let me
maybe on the
check.
other side of the
Yeah,
mountains.
it's
Okay.
southwest.
Okay.
So yeah, so
That makes sense, I guess.
yeah, we landed in Denver, went up in the mountains, and then yeah, so Durango, see Durango to Ouray. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Ouray's a little bit further north. Um, yeah.
Apache Junction, is that like is that middle west?
Durango, so Ouray's like is definitely still southwest, but it's close to like the middle. It's like Grand Junction's like
Grand Junction. That's what
is
it was.
super
Grand
west,
Junction.
right in
Yep.
the middle.
Yep.
And then probably like 2 hours south of that is Ouray, and then an
Okay.
hour and 45 south of that's Durango.
Okay.
And then Durango's extremely close to the New Mexico border.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that where the 4 points? Is
Four
Colorado?
points
Yep.
is yeah,
Okay.
it's New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah.
Okay. Gotcha.
We
Interesting.
went to 4 points while we were out there too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun standing on the Continental Divide. We did both of those. So
Oh, the Continental Divide. That's
mhm.
something we're going to talk about here.
Oh, all right. All right.
So to finish off our our spotlight here on Bozeman and Montana State, it is also considered a tech and innovation hub because Bozeman has become a growing tech center, home to startups and satellite offices for many companies like Oracle and Snowflake.
And aliens. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I knew.
All right, scroll Just take another look at this. I just have to admit, I told you this too. When I first saw this trophy, I didn't actually see now the obvious detail within it, which just really makes this just a premier trophy. So
Yeah,
why don't you just let people know what this looks like?
it's beautiful and it's basely and it's lovely. So it's a wooden base, like a big oval of a wooden base, with a plaque on it that says, "Oh, it does say something about the Great Divide." So I guess we'll talk about that. And then the wooden base, like there's the big plaque that says something 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 the Great Divide, and then there's like plaques, individual smaller plaques in gold for like the winners and the score. And then there's handles on this sucker. There is a handle that goes around the entire outside of the trophy so it can be easily lifted up off the ground. Well, not easily, but it helps with the lifting of it off the ground. So there's, massive handle that goes around the entire outside of it. And then on top of all of this is a beast of a trophy. Let me say, if I can zoom in even more, enhance.
I know you actually can read a decent amount, especially on that first picture. Um if
Yeah,
you
let me see
zoom.
if I can try to zoom in even more. Uh the the bronze sculpture, I can't read it. I can't get all that. Something something known as the Great Divide was made possible by these Montana football teams. But the trophy itself is a giant bronze mountain. Okay. And then the one side of the mountain is a giant grizzly bear, like at the top half of a grizzly bear, like etched into the mountain, like as if pieces of stone are creating this grizzly bear. And then the other side of the mountain is a bobcat, uh, top half of a bobcat. They're at the base, and then up towards the peak of the mountain, there is a football sitting on a tee, right at the peak, and it's a full size football that's at the peak of this mountain. And the mountain itself, I mean, is probably how tall is this trophy? This trophy is probably a good 4 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet tall, something like that. So is a very, very sizable trophy, very heavy. It's a hefty, hefty beast. Yeah, it's probably 3 feet tall, right? Because it's got this guy standing next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 or 4 feet tall. Yeah, so it's a great thing. They gotta wheel it out on a cart. It's fantastic.
You know what the Bobcat part of it looks like to me? Now
Hmm.
that I'm thinking about it, it's funny that this like reference popped into my head is like the Thundercats where
Oh,
they
really?
had their like lair because it
I
had
was
like a
thinking Wakanda. I was
okay,
thinking
oh
Wakanda.
the and
So
the Black
yeah,
Panther,
same
yeah.
thing with the Black Panther. Yeah, yeah.
So a little bit of piece that we'll get into is like imagine on this mountain as Mike described is like you have the grizzly on one side and the bobcat on the other that are like going upwards
Yeah,
trying
they're
to
trying to climb up the mountain to get to the
yes.
football. Yeah, the grizzly bear is like hugging the mountain almost trying to climb up, and the
Yeah.
bobcat's like crawling up like the side.
So the following information comes from a news report from the local ABC affiliate, KHQ, and a reporter Maria Anderson. At least this small little bit of history here. Actually, it might be all of the history here. But this trophy is called so the rivalry and the game is called the Brawl of the Wild. The trophy is called the Great Divide Trophy. So this was created in 2001 by an artist named Dave Samuelson. So that he was part of in one of those plaques talking about the sculpture or sculptor Dave Samuelson. And the trophy itself weighs 306 pounds. And
That's
the
way
name of the
over.
Great Divide comes from the fact that the universities are on opposite sides of the Continental Divide.
Ah, gotcha.
So, Mike, being, I'd say you're pretty good at geography. Can you tell me which city is east and of the divide and which city is west? One, we talked about Bozeman. Do you know the city that Montana's in? Do you remember?
Yeah, Helena?
Missoula.
Missoula. I always get that screwed up. Yeah, okay.
So 50-50 chance here.
Missoula.
Which one is west and which one is east of the Continental
Bozeman is
Divide?
west and Missoula is east.
Wrong.
Wrong. Damn it.
Missoula is west of the divide and Bozeman is east of the divide.
Got it.
That's pretty cool. So okay, so this is a story that came out in 2021, and this details kind of how the story came about. So the idea of having a rivalry trophy came from a Grizzly fan named Norm Jones at the time, and he was a grad and just a fan of the team. And once he got it approved that the school should do a trophy, he went to his friend Dave Samuelson to make the trophy. Now, initially, Norm envisioned a bobcat and a grizzly fighting for a ball. But what Dave returned was a vision of his own. So this is what Norm talked about. This is his quote. I had no idea why my buddy Dave Samuelson, a national wildlife artist, had duck printouts and everything in the world and won a painter of the year, comes back with a picture of a rock. So that was kind of how Norm initially was like, what is going on? Um, but there was very intentional, and you see the picture of Dave Samuelson there and a little bit of the history here. But Dave modeled the trophy off of the Bear Mountain, and that is where the Continental Divide splits the two schools. So that's where, and you can kind of see in this picture of Dave in front of where the Great Divide is, and where that Bear Mountain is, and you can kind of see the picture of the Bear Mountain, and then how that resembles how the mountain is designed
Yeah.
within that trophy. So he first painted the idea, then molded the bronze, and then he kind of did that hidden images of the bear and the grizzly and the bobcat amongst the rocks.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, what a fantastic artistic take on it too, to like
Mhm.
take it from like someone who had, their original vision, and then he's like, let me iterate on this a little bit. I love that.
And he nailed it, right? Because
Mhm.
like if you think about just a bear and a bobcat, like we've talked about trophy ideas in the past for rivalries that don't have the trophies, and I feel like we've kind of like that's one of the obvious things. The first thing you go to is the
Yeah, the
mascots
mascots. Yep.
and
Mhm.
figure out how that can work. And yeah, the fact that he was able to just think about the mountain itself, and then not only that, but incorporate those two, it's just.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we like to see. That's the type of creativity we're going for.
And so Dave Samuelson lived in the Missouri Valley, excuse me, in the Mission Valley, and he was also an avid Grizzly fan after working on his master's at the University of Montana. Unfortunately, in 2020, Dave lost his fight with prostate cancer,
Uh,
but his memory now lives on through the Great Divide Trophy. And as far as Norm goes, he has been the transporter of the trophy in his pickup truck for the last 14 years.
hell yeah, that's awesome. That's
And,
awesome.
and when asked why he's been so dedicated to keeping it on the move between the two rivalry schools for so many years, he said this. It's made for Montana. It ain't made for the Grizzlies. It ain't made for Bobcats. It's made for Montana and the fans with the Grizzlies and the Bobcats involved. Gives them another reason if they're not both even in listed in the playoffs. They still got something to play for once they hit the field.
I love that. That is awesome.
So this is the part where I was able to find a really cool article. It took me having to, do a little bit of archiving to get around some paywalls, but I'm glad it worked out because this is a really good way to kind of epitomize this rivalry and give you guys a little bit of I guess what's the know-how? Is that the phrase? A little bit of insider information, a little bit of credibility, probably within Montana and Montana State fans, specifically Montana State fans, when you're talking about this. So, Brawl of the Wild. what is in a name? Because Jeff Welsh of the Bozeman Daily Chronicle got an interesting taste to the rivalry when he was new to the beat after 13 years of covering the Beavers in Corvallis. So this is an article that he wrote, and it was in the what was it? I'm gonna get this wrong. The website was whatever the area code is in Bozeman. Excuse me, it's 206260 Montana Sports. It's something Montana Sports, whatever the area code is. This is something he wrote back in 2021, kind of describing his experience as a beat writer for Montana State. But he wasn't born and raised in Montana. He came from Oregon, covered the Civil War
Yeah.
for years, and also even covered a bit of Boise, Idaho, the rivalry there as
Gotcha.
well. So this was him kind of reflecting back years later on when he initially took the job out in Bozeman. So he says, and I quote, as I've noted in this space, my first taste of the rivalry's intensity was hammered home within a few weeks of him taking the job. I had the audacity to predict a higher Big Sky football finish for the Grizzlies, even though that's precisely what happened for the previous 19 seasons, dating back to Montana State's Lightning in a Bottle 1984 national title run. He got a voicemail after making this prediction that Montana would finish higher than Montana State. The next morning, half jokingly, I think he says, cautioned me to adhere to the Wild West tradition of sitting facing the door, lest my anatomy be rearranged if caught unawares. Never in more than a decade of annually picking Oregon State to finish behind Oregon did anyone in Corvallis ever propose grinding me into a human gut pile. I was given free rein to remake the Chronicle sports section as I saw fit, but I did unwittingly cross a line once. This was the first and only time I referred to the Montana State game in a Chronicle story as the Brawl of the Wild. It's Cat-Griz. I was admonished by a veteran colleague in a tone and tenor that suggested have more success arguing with a hyperphagic mother bear. So essentially, he called it the Brawl of the Wild. This veteran colleague said, no, son, it's Cat-Griz.
Cat-Griz.
And he says, my quizzical look, excuse this language. Clearly, this is not me speaking. This is a writer speaking here. My quizzical look begged an explanation, and I got one in what was otherwise a bastion of objectivity. Brawl the Wild was coined by talented Missoulian wordsmith Kim Brigman in 1997 for a competing newspaper, strike one, in Missoula, strike two, aka the home of the Grizz, strike three.
So the Grizz call it Brawl of the Wild.
Yes.
And Montana State, no go, it's Cat-Griz.
Yes.
Can't even refer to it, the rivalry, with the same name.
No.
That'd be like if Ohio State call it the game, or if Michigan, actually better, Michigan calls it the game, and Ohio State's like, it's the gay, because you can't have the M in there. So, like that's, yeah.
No. Yeah. Just
Marines. Yeah.
You just can't do it because the name was coined, which then if you think about it, especially from our perspective, from all of your guys' perspective, unless you're from Montana, which I'm going to guess we don't have any listeners from Montana. It's funny because like we were introduced to this via Game Day, in which it was clearly called the Brawl of the Wild, right? Which now you just know completely irked one side of this rivalry.
As the guy wearing the grit. I mean, listen,
right.
If it was on the other, if the shoe was on the other foot, yeah. I'd be like, yep, Cat-Griz. Never again will I call it Brawl of the Wild. Now I'm only calling it Brawl of the Wild, like strictly Brawl of the Wild.
Yeah. So he finishes his article with a few things that he's learned after 17 years on the beat. That was as of 2021. So like it was pretty cool that this perspective is now like almost 2 decades. Well, now 2 decades old. And there was quite a few things that he had learned, but one of the things was it'll never be the Brawl of the Wild for the truest blue of the Bobcat Nation. And then he goes on to finish this article talking about it, saying, above all, the battle for the Great Divide Trophy, whatever you want to call the game, doesn't take an intensity or emotions backseat to the Apple Cup, to the big game, to the Victory Bell, to the Territorial Cup, or to the Oregon Grudge Match, now formerly known as the Civil War. Ours is the only rivalry where I know Ours is the only rivalry I know where what to call it can nearly be as contentious as the game itself.
I love that. It's true. I can't think of another. I can't think of another example.
No, where they were like one side, and it's so funny too because like you would never know, right? Unless you are a Montana State fan, or from Bozeman or spent time in Bozeman, you would never know not to call it the Brawl of the Wild.
I'm actually surprised. Well, I think that they were at University of Montana for that game day. I am surprised, and I don't know. I guess I'd have to go back and watch the episode, but like I would think Reese Davis of all people would know that.
Yeah.
Like, so that's interesting.
Well, the tough part about it for Montana State fans is just they've been historically the school that hasn't been as successful. So like it's really hard to like,
Change
pipe
that
up and
narrative,
say, hey, it's not named this after, getting smoked for a couple decades until recently, right? Until they've been able to kind of even the playing field.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for you guys.
I love it, man. I love it. Intense, beautiful trophy.
Yeah.
Would love to go see this game one day, man. Would absolutely love to be out there.
And I'm just gonna say it not just because we, clearly your hat is that, but even just looking at the two stadiums and where they're located and whatnot, I think Missoula is the place to go. Sorry, people in Bozeman. But it'd be interesting. I'd also equally love to go see this game, especially since if we're getting to the game played this Saturday, at noon in Missoula is featuring the Bobcats, who are ranked number 3 in the nation in FCS, at 9-2 and 7-0 in the Big Sky. And they are on the road at number 2 Grizzlies, who are 11-0 and 7-0 in the Big Sky and are only behind North Dakota State as far as FCS goes. So this is number 2, number 3 with an automatic bid to the playoffs on the line. And that's kind of been consistently what it's been the last few years. So it's not even just, hey, it's a great rivalry. It's a great trophy. I do believe that they, Norm had talked about, in this again was written about like in an article in 2021 ahead of the game, that he does take it to places to be seen and then secures it, the night or two before the actual game. So it is something that the public can see, but you're also going to see a damn good football game.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I don't know what the spread is, to be honest with you, but I'm probably inclined to take the home team, especially the undefeated home team, in this battle.
Likewise.
Yeah, regardless, this is definitely probably something I'm gonna see if potentially is on ESPN Plus. Just give a little peek to see if I can watch some of this. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us this week. So follow us on Instagram at whiskers.whiskies and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And join us next week when we talk about our last trophy of season 5, the Paniolo Trophy. For Mike, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough.
Cheers, boys.